Am I the asshole for being frustrated with my friend? I, 20 female. Have a feeling I know what everyone's going to say, but I figured I may as well ask. I am, like most college students, broke. The laptop I've been using crashed and is completely unsalvageable, leaving me without a way to do a lot of the writing and editing projects I need to do for school. My best friend, 20 female, comes from a relatively well-off family, and as a result doesn't face the same struggles that a lot of people in our friend group do when it comes to getting supplies and equipment for school. The laptop I currently had, is one that she gave me 2 years ago when she upgraded to a new laptop, which I was, and am, very grateful for. The issue comes in now. She recently decided that she wants to switch from Samsung to Apple when the latest watch and phone come out, and as she is prone to do, went all out buying into the new ecosystem. One of the things she bought was a MacBook she has admitted she doesn't actually need, and hasn't even unwrapped it or taken it out of the box yet, and has instead just stuck it on top of her closet until she decides to use it. The computer she has now is a $2,500 top-of-the-line laptop that she literally only uses to watch Netflix and play The Sims, and sometimes write papers on. Knowing that she bought a new laptop, I asked her if there's any way I could have her current laptop since she now has a completely new one, and she said no, that even when she decides to actually unwrap and use her MacBook, she's still keeping her current laptop because she wants to play The Sims on it since it has top-of-the-line graphics and sound, and offered me the, admittedly also top-of-the-line, tablet and keyboard setup she has and never uses instead. I can't use the tablet to do the work I need to do, so it won't work, and I told her as much, and she said she understands and to let her know if I changed my mind. Initially I let it go because her stuff is her stuff and she can do whatever she wants with it, but the more I thought about it, the more frustrated I got. She bought a laptop she doesn't actually need or has even used because she wants to use iMessage on it when she gets her iPhone. That is literally it. Most people would kill for a MacBook, and she's basically using it as a paperweight. Her current laptop is meant for high-end gaming and editing and she uses it to watch Netflix and occasionally, by which I mean maybe once a month, play a video game for about an hour before she gets bored. I went to her again and basically begged to use either her current laptop or her unused MacBook and even offered to pay her on a payment plan, but she refused. I got frustrated and told her she's incredibly spoiled and takes for granted what she has, and now she's told me she needs a break from our friendship. Am I the asshole? Edit. My frustration also comes from the fact that she does stuff like this all the time, and as someone who doesn't have any kind of safety net to fall back on, it's frustrating watching her buy her fifth smartwatch in 2 years just because. She has a variety that she cycles through and just assumes everyone does the same. Or her closet? It's overflowing with designer shoes and purses and clothes with half the items still having their tags on because she has more stuff than anyone actually needs. Yes, she's kind and she gives things away, but only when the things she's giving away are no longer of use to her. She's smart and hardworking and kind, but she's also super ignorant of the fact that most people don't live like she does, and can be super dismissive of people because she literally doesn't understand what it's like to actually struggle. You are the asshole. It's not up to you what she does with her money. If she's rich enough to spend money on a MacBook to use it as a paperweight, then good for her. It's not like she's even being selfish either. She's already given you a laptop and offered you a tablet, but you're still going back and asking for more. I understand your frustration at seeing someone wealthy being frivolous with money, but you can't get upset with her for not gifting you another laptop. She probably wants a supportive friend rather than someone who keeps asking for more. You are the asshole. I am sorry your life is more difficult than hers, but that doesn't give you a right to her things. It also doesn't give you a right to judge how she uses her things. Believe it or not, you're the spoiled brat right now. She was kind enough to let you have her old laptop and now you feel entitled to everything she has. Ridiculous. Get over yourself. You are the asshole. She's already given you a laptop and you say you're grateful but still demand a new one from her. She offered a tablet instead and you said no because you want one of the top-of-the-line laptops? What makes you so entitled to her things? No wonder she wants a break from this friendship. She probably feels like you're using her for her money instead of being a genuine friend. Just because she is well off doesn't mean she needs to give you things. You need to apologize for your behavior. You are the asshole. It's her money and she doesn't owe you anything, especially after giving you a laptop already and offering you a tablet setup. Oh yes. You are the asshole. And a beggar. You used her laptop which broke and didn't save money to replace it. That's on you. She's not your electronics ATM. Go to a pawn shop or look online at the places people sell used items. Go to the school library or call your family. You are the asshole. I am also sad you are unable to realize this due to your inflated sense of entitlement. Of course you are the asshole. You are not entitled to other people's things, whether they use them or not. If you want a new laptop, figure out a way to get on. Your friend does not have to give you hers. You are the asshole. Not to mention entitled. That's her property and honesty. You just sound jealous because of what she has. Nobody owes you anything, and I wouldn't be your friend anymore either for such an outburst. I am sure you have a public library or something for you to do your work on. Am I the asshole for not wanting the rude wife of a friend to ever be invited to our house? My boyfriend, 29M, and I, 29F, went to college together and currently live in the same city as a lot of the friends we made while in school. Two of those friends is a couple where the wife, 28F, and I don't get along at all. She's historically been fairly mean or standoffish to people, mostly other women, and is fairly aggressive about getting what she wants, especially when she's been drinking. If a group is hanging out and we're debating which restaurant or bar to go to, she pushes everyone into agreeing to her suggestion. If a group trip happens to fall on their wedding anniversary, she has to stay in the best room because it's their anniversary, even though that's not the reason for the trip, nor was she the person who planned or booked anything. If we're playing games, she screams at the people on her team who she thinks aren't pulling their weight, and takes all of the fun out of it. There's more, but this is already so specific. Recently a mutual friend even pulled my boyfriend aside and asked him if she'd always been this mean or if it's gotten worse. This type of behavior isn't something that I put up with, so I normally will immediately tell her off when she starts to act this way, while my boyfriend tries to keep the peace and tells me to pick my battles. But we're not 19 anymore, so this isn't something that I think we should keep tolerating. If expecting friends to be respectful isn't picking the right battle, I honestly don't know what the right one could possibly be. Basically, it feels like people, my boyfriend in particular, put up with her behavior because her husband is an awesome guy. My boyfriend was his best man. And probably out of some sense of loyalty because we've all known her since college. Here's the issue. Right before the pandemic, my boyfriend and I moved into a larger place so that we could host dinners, game nights, Super Bowl parties, etc. Now that all of our friends are vaccinated, we'd like to invite a handful of them to a game night at our place. I told my boyfriend that I don't want this rude friend to be invited into our home, probably ever, and it's turned into a whole fight. Am I the asshole here? Edit. Wow. So many comments. A few things that I wanted to add and clarify. The other girls who have commented about her behavior have only done so once or twice in about a sentence, almost in passing. We haven't discussed her at length because, like many of you said, it's crappy to talk behind people's backs, and she is part of a close-knit group. Pointing out her behavior in a group setting and with little patience is a dick move on my part, but at this point, if it weren't for our significant others or the group at large, she and I wouldn't be in touch at all. I don't consider her a friend anymore, and it's hard to tell if she'd even care to listen if I tried to tell her this stuff privately. I do think that she'd care and change her behavior if my boyfriend was the one to set boundaries. She'd care about what he thinks and particularly how that might affect her husband. But my boyfriend hates confrontation, and he would have to fight a battle that's not really his. He did agree that her overall behavior has gotten worse though, Sue, Not the asshole. Why is he okay with her treating you and everyone else so badly? I'd tell her unless she treats people with respect she's not welcome. I'd tell her husband too. Not the asshole. Life is too short to put up with people like this. The guy might be awesome, but he knows who she is and chooses to stay with her. I'd stop inviting them to things. Not the asshole. Respect is something that you should not feel bad about expecting from guests in your house. If this woman is alienating other friends and it's a habitual thing, it could create tensions between you and your other friends. I've experienced this before. It is good to give people the benefit of the doubt and make an effort to try to connect with them, but it sounds like you've done that and the behavior remains the same. But it's going to be very hard to have the husband over without the wife. At some point though, you have to put your foot down and say this isn't acceptable. If she doesn't want to change her behavior, then you are not the asshole for not wanting her around. You are not the asshole. It might be time to stage an intervention with said friend, and tell him that either his girlfriend shapes up or they both get voted off the island. The first rule of toddlers and difficult people is that you don't negotiate with terrorists. Info. What was her reaction when you or one of your other friends in this acquaintance circle told her that she comes across as overbearing? If you've never had a decent conversation with her about her behavior, then you're not only shutting her out, but also her spouse whom you claim you actually like. Why punish him for all of your inability to talk to this woman? Not the asshole. You're not asking your boyfriend to dump his best friend, but friends SOs don't necessarily need to be friends too. You've put up with her shenanigans in group settings, but you don't have to host someone disrespectful in your own home just cause your boyfriend is buddies with the aggressor's husband. He can host guys' nights at your home with his friends, including her husband, and you two can host group nights with people you both like, but I think you are within your rights to draw boundaries on who you spend time with at home. That's so sad when the spouse either doesn't see it or doesn't seem to care. Why is he still with her? Of course you are allowed to determine who does or doesn't get to come to your house, but you have to know her husband won't be coming either. She would never stand for it. Not the asshole, even a little bit. Self-absorbed Oz who think they constantly deserve the spotlight are intolerable. Sorry, you'll probably lose a friend for standing up to her. Not the asshole, and the only way out is to be the asshole. Let people think you're being mean, but establish the ever-living fuck out of your boundaries. I would invite them over and consistently call out this woman each and every time she's disrespectful. Calmly. Completely in the right. Zero tolerance. Make it so either the wife never wants to be around you or make it so that everyone sees you're in the right. Or both. I like both. Am I the asshole for exposing the risks of using a local landscaper? I hired a landscaper mid-2020 to do groundworks and lay slabs for £17,000 for a 6-week job. Over a year later he had only delivered 1/3 materials and comes to work 2 days a month but received 90% of the money. Work performed was poor, with other landscapers advising parts need to be corrected. The modern landscaper agreed on a call to delivery paid for materials, but later emailed rejecting this. I then did some research. 7 court-enforced debts going back 5 years. 1 company struck off due to not filing accounts, and second in the same process of being struck off operating for over a year as a sole trader despite the limited company uses aliases and had 3 rebrands within 5 years. Moved from his address to avoid bailiffs. Admitted on call. Was now asking customers to pay for their own materials. As presumably he had no money, started placing someone else's bank details on invoices rather than his own. My wife and I posted negative reviews on his Facebook page to warn others and received insulting messages from his friends. He blocked us from all social media. Then messages came from other people in similar situations. I estimate £50,000 £100,000 owed to customers just within my village. I then realized that many of his Facebook reviews and nearly 1K page likes almost certainly came from other landscapers from across the country, and assume we're all members of the private Facebook group Modern Landscapers 2020, which he proudly advised he had set up. They seem to review and like one another's business pages and give a false representation of their work, trustworthiness, and a justification for his breach of contract. Lawyers advised although an easy case, the other court debts were unpaid. However, the info we had gathered was public domain. I sent a letter of demand for money owed with a list of what we would publish. His only response was to report me to the police for harassment. I now have no contact. A civil court case with very little likelihood of any money in a garden which has been quoted at around £14,000 to complete. I felt I had a responsibility to prevent other victims and reported for fraud, for several issues, reported for paying below minimum wage, contacted suppliers to advise our experience, warned local communities via Facebook, and created online reviews, reported for child endangerment as his young children, under 12, were at his worksite with cutting tools and construction equipment without any control. I was mocked for asking them to keep away from the circular saw and cement mixer. Other customers have now demanded their money back. But I hear he is playing the victim and saying that I have not paid him for the work, but I have provided evidence of payments to reject this false claim. Here is where I may be I am being told that I am ruining his livelihood. But I say he is stealing, not earning. Update. Writing this post reminded me that I needed to check his main supplier in case by any chance he had paid for my materials. They advised a similar amount of money was owed to them by him too, so no materials either. Not the asshole, but seriously, why would you think you are? It's literally what reviews are for. Not the asshole. This guy screwed you and will continue to screw others. His livelihood should be damaged. Not the asshole. He is committing a number of illegal activities and this is justice. Go after him for all he is worth and make sure he can't work in this industry again. Not the asshole. It seems there are landscapers across the world like this and scammers galore. Got burned by one this year too and did the same. After we'd contracted with him his BBB rating tanked. Edit. Rephrased, there are great landscapers out there too, not all are like this. Not the asshole. As long as everything you've sent publicly is true, why would you be the aw? This man conned you. When somebody is making a living conning people, why would you want to protect their livelihood? Not the asshole. His livelihood is based on scamming other people. He does not get to play that card when getting called out and having to face the consequences of being a shit person. You wouldn't feel bad for catching a thief and calling the police just because it was their livelihood. This is not all that different. Of course not the asshole, nothing to argue about. All those people chastising you should send you the money he owes you. Absolutely not the asshole. Am I the asshole for not saving the house? In early July my grandmother passed away. My dad lives in her house. There's a reverse mortgage on it, with $130,000 owed. It's currently appraised at $425,000. My dad and uncle, who lives in another state, both then own half of the remaining $295,000 value. My dad wants me to help save the house by taking out a 30-year fixed mortgage. I'd put the house under my name, then we'd start paying off my uncle's share. The monthly payments are $2,250, $500 on property taxes, $500 in utilities and $1,250 on the reverse mortgage. If we don't do this, we'd have to sell the house by next July. Within 2-3 years he says he'll be able to make enough money where he could put the house in his name, get a roommate to take over my half of the monthly payments, and I'd be completely out of the picture. Currently I pay $1,900 in rent, utilities. So, I'd be saving $650 per month. He says he'll pay half. Plus, years from now I'd inherit the house. Despite it making more financial sense in the short term, I just don't want to do this, even if I'd only stay for a few years. I really like my privacy, independence, and where I live. The house is nice and all, and I'd like him to keep it, but I don't feel okay making these big life changes for something I don't want to take on. I net $4,200 per month and he nets $2,000 from work, plus $700 in tips as a musician. The latter has been in the last few months, so isn't on his taxes or anything, so with the $2,000 he wouldn't qualify to get a reverse mortgage loan currently. As we talk about this, he says things like, "Please, I'm begging you son," or, "You know, your uncle lived with our grandfather for a few months to help him out," and things like that. He also had a drawing I made as a kid where I wrote, "I love you mommy and daddy, convenient," on a table. Things like this make me feel like he's trying to make me feel bad. In the last 15-20 years he's made some bad choices, such as getting involved with drug addicts and drunk driving. He's been better recently though. Others in my family feel like he's trying to manipulate me into feeling bad for not doing this, which I don't necessarily disagree with. But at the same time, I still would like for him to stay the house, which he grew up in and all that. He told me earlier, "You know, if you can't help me then I don't know what I'm going to do. I mean I don't have a plan B. And one of my grandmother's last wishes was for me to help him stay there. I just don't want to do this, even if I'd only stay for 2-3 years and would cost less than my apartment. He'd get $145,000 if we sold it, which is a good portion towards a condo. I'd also inherit years from now, but I still have some fears he'll make another bad decision that could cause us to lose the house. Theoretically, my dad and uncle could sell me their shares for $1 and I'd only have to pay off the $130,000, but my uncle would want the money for his boys' college fund. So, what do you all think? I think he'd feel I'm a bad son. Would you agree? You are not the one responsible. This is on your father and your uncle. The fact that your dad is trying to manipulate you is absolute BS. It's his fault that he is not in a good place financially. Plenty of people have to give up their homes because of financial issues. It is unfortunate, but it happens. Right now is a good time for them to try and sell it before the market crashes. You should not have to be in debt because your dad won't let go of a house. If your other relatives are giving you crap, you should tell them that they should help if it matters that much to them. Not the asshole. You have to make a good decision for yourself, not for others. Not the asshole. There are so many ways this could go wrong. You'd be taking on a mortgage for a house that your dad will consider his, but he won't have any responsibility for it. If he loses his job or spends too much, you're on the hook for the whole mortgage. Will he be responsible for repairs? Or will he continue to guilt trip you into paying for all of it? What if you want to move, but you're still bogged down by this house situation? Plenty of parents emotionally manipulate their kids for their own benefit, so whether he calls you a bad son or not is irrelevant. Emotional manipulation to get what he wants doesn't exactly make him a good father. Not the asshole. This is one of those situations where you need to follow your gut. Everyone has family members they know they can't really trust with big money situations. As much as you love your father, it seems like you know you can't really trust him with this and that you're taking a huge risk with your money and your credit to do this for him. I know it's hard, but I wouldn't do it. Sell the house. This will save you stress and it will save your relationship with your father, because if he ends up not keeping up his end of the bargain, you'll resent him so much and hate yourself for doing something you knew you shouldn't have done in the first place. He is trying to manipulate you. Is this someone you want to live with? Your father has to be at least 40 years old, so what is he going to do in the next 2 to 3 years that is going to increase his income so much that he will be able to afford the house when he can't now? The odds are that if you do this you will be stuck in it for a very long time. Also, if your grandmother wanted him to keep the house, she had the option of leaving it solely to him. She didn't. NTA, and don't do it. Not the asshole. Selling the house makes the most sense for all involved. These convoluted arrangements are almost always a source of family friction in the future. Not the asshole, I don't trust him. What happens to you when 2 years turn into 5 or 10 years? Why do you think he'll ever be able to take this over? It's really unfair to put this on you, and I actually don't think it would be financially responsible on your end because the plan relies on someone who doesn't sound reliable. Your father is trying to emotionally blackmail you. Tell him the truth, and if he tries to beg, put your foot down. See what he does. The fact that other people in the family have commented on it must mean that it's pretty heavy, so feel so much for you, op. Well done on the good career though. If he's that desperate to keep the house, he will find a way. If he does manage this, he won't leave it to you because of this. Remember that. It's sad, but you need to do what's right for you. Good luck, op. Not the asshole. You're tying yourself to a 30-year mortgage living with your dad, which will affect financial and relationship issues. Also, sorry, but even if your dad is better recently, he doesn't have a good track record. In my opinion, his using blatant guilt tactics and willingness to put you in this position doesn't bode well. If you end up doing this regardless, make sure you have a contract with your father that allows you to force sale of the property with you receiving the percentage you've bought. Don't count on inheritance or this situation working long term. Give yourself an out.